Hey guys, my name is Jason. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, this is a channel where I get to explore different ideas that I find interesting and also try to get a much deeper understanding of a certain topic. It's also a video series for me to better articulate my thoughts and maybe it helps me out when I look back on this and really try to get my thoughts clearer on these topics. So today's question that I'm trying to figure out is, how does anything ever work? Um, and this has been a question that I've been thinking for a very long time, and I still haven't gotten to the bottom of it. Like, I have a few solutions, I guess you can call them solutions, but a few small ideas that I could count as solutions, but I still don't think they create a full picture of this question. Um, so so yeah, how does anything ever work? Like, that's a mystery. Like, how does anything ever work? Um, like, I don't know if you noticed, but we live in a society here where um, a lot of the needs, a lot of your basic needs are met, and we don't really notice it. So, like, for example, you know, I have lights, right? Um, they always work. Every time I flick it on, the light comes on. It always works. It's so good that it always works. And if it ever goes out, usually it's back within the same day. But it works all the time. How could that be? I mean, let's think of like your plumbing, right? Like, you use the sink or you flush your toilet, right? It works all the time, for the most part, all the time, right? And it works so well that we just don't even think about it. Like, we don't even realize the very benefit of these items, um, because when when something works so well, it's you just kind of ignore it. You just don't really think about it. It's only when there's an issue do you ever stop to really think about it. But they work so well all the time. It's a complete mystery as to why things work. I think you can also think of this from a I think you can also think of this from like a historical perspective, because because just within the last 100 or 200 or so years, we didn't even have lights. We didn't even have toilets and plumbing systems and stuff. I mean, I'm sure we had. I don't really know the specific date, but if you just go back in history, those weren't even things. Like, we just didn't have that. Um, they weren't there. So how, again, how does this work? Because when we go back in history, these items, all of the benefits that we have today, we never had this in the past. It just wasn't there. But somehow now we have these things and they work so well all the time. What the heck? Like, that just shouldn't be the case, but it's there and it works. So what is that? um I don't know. I don't know why it works, because if anything, it shouldn't. Like, it working is the mystery, like, because for the most part it just shouldn't, because none of this should work. So yeah, so that was one part that I was thinking about for a long time. If you, again, like, if you think about the world in general, like, we did not have any of this, but now we just live with it. Like, we have it and it just works all the time, because for the most part, if you think about the world and in nature, things just fall apart on their own accord, right? I think scientists uses the word entropy, because over time things fall apart. If that's the case, how does anything ever work? It's so preposterous. It's so perplexing. If over time things fail, how do we continue to have these benefits and they just work all the time? I don't know. But here we are, and I have all this stuff, and my lights work and my sink works. I have access to water at like a moment's notice. It's like, how, if you really think about it, it just doesn't make sense. So yeah, so that was one thing I've thought about. One is just nature in general. Things just fall apart on their own accord. So, how do you account for that? Also, two, I've also learned that all the stuff that we have here in this world, they're man-made, in a sense that we've, as humans, as people, created all of this structure in the world, right? Because if you think about it, if you took out everything that man has created, then what you're left with is just nature. Like, that's it. But all of this stuff, all of the structure, how everything, all the buildings are created, all the your electrical lines and your underground plumbing lines and the city, like, all of this stuff were created by people, right? So it's all man-made, and I think that's one thing that was so revealing to me, that it's all man-made, as in it's created by people. That has been so astonishing to me, because people just don't realize that. People don't realize that all the benefits that we have, they were created because someone created it. Because without it, what you're left with is just, you're just left with the nature of the world. Like, that's it. So that was really eye-opening. So after I thought that, I thought, if the reason things work is because they are man-made, if one of the reasons why things work is because they are man-made and people made those things to make it work, then is this a good answer, right? Like, it's because it's man-made, that's why it works. So then I thought, have you ever talked to people? Have you met enough people? Because overall, like, in general, like, overall, at any specific point in time, in any point of time, at least half of the population is just not doing well. Like, at least half. So, you know, maybe they're sick, or, you know, they have illness, or they have all these different mental illnesses and issues. Like, at minimum, like at any given time, like half the population is just, they're not doing well. And then I thought, if half the people in the world are not doing well, well then how, again, like how does anything work? Because all of the structure that we have in our life, all of the benefits we have, are created by people. So how, if half the population just isn't doing well, how does anything ever work? Like if anything, it just shouldn't. But somehow we have all this benefit. So um, that is also one thing I didn't understand. So then I thought, and this is my solution that I think about. I don't think it's, you know, the full picture, but you know, maybe it's part. My thinking is that at minimum there is enough people in the world that are doing basically everything, that are doing enough to lift up all of the structures of society to make everything functional. And it's not everyone, because just, you know, right off the bat, half the population is just, you know, they're not there. So it's a very, very small number of people who basically run these organizations, and they do pretty much everything, and they do it well, and things work, you know, surprisingly. Like at minimum, at some point there is enough people in the world, there is enough people that are lifting up these structures, and they're the ones that are making, you know, everything work. Like, which is just like crazy to believe, but I mean, that's, you know, that's how things work. It's these small number of people who just do everything. We just don't realize it. But somehow their effort is enough to, you know, make sure that your lights are always on and you always have access to food nearby. And, you know, they're just working all the time to make these things work. Because if there isn't enough people that are lifting up these structures, then then what you're left with is just a bunch of people who just don't do anything. Like, if you come from the place where half the population is just not well at any point in time, there goes half your people. And if enough people don't, you know, lift up the structures of society, then, you know, it's hell. Like, it's just a terrible place, because, you know, everything just falls apart. So then I thought, like, maybe that's it. Like, maybe that's the reason why things work. It's because there are enough people. There is enough people. There is a very small percentage of people who do all of these things, and they do it well, and they do it, you know, accordingly to, you know, the benefits of society. And there you go. Like, that's how things work. It's because there's a small minority of people who are good, who try to do the right thing, and they're put into this position to help benefit and lift up all the structures of society. I think that's the solution. I haven't been able to come up with a better one, but for the most part, that is what I found out. Like, things like, for all of the benefits that we have in this world, we, if there isn't enough people, continuing and lifting up that benefit, then it just disappears. It's just gone. It's this whole thing is man-made. It's made by people, and if they don't do it, well, then it's gone. You don't have that anymore. But somehow everything works all the time, and it works well, and it's because there is a very, very small minority of people who basically just do everything, and they're the ones that are lifting all of this to make it work. And it's so mind-boggling, because none of this should ever work, and like, it just doesn't, and it hasn't for pretty much all of history. But there it is, and it works, and we get the benefit of it, and we just don't realize just how amazing that is. And we take it all for granted, because, well, when something works so well, you just don't think about it, because it doesn't annoy you. It doesn't stick its head out and says, this is not working. It just works. So like, if things work and it works all the time, you just you're just blinded by it, because you're not even paying attention to it, because it works. So yeah, that is the solution that I've come up with, but I don't think it's the full picture. So if you have a better solution, or if you agree, or if there's some other talking points you want to include, leave a comment below, because I really want to get to the bottom of this. Also, if you like the topic, put up a like. I think that's it. So yeah, I think that's it. So until next time, I will see you guys later. Thanks.